Good evening, everybody. In this video, I'm going to talk about the single mindset shift that not only led me to PRing my last Ironman significantly from my first one, I might add, but also completely transformed, or I'd say revolutionized, enhanced the results that I'm even still getting to this day in my training. And I don't train any harder than most people. I don't train any more consistently because this is Ironman after all. Most of us have consistency locked in. Most of us know how to train hard and push ourselves, of course. But this is a little mindset shift that if you don't take it to heart and you don't really ingrain it in your brain, you're at an extreme disadvantage. So I'll start by just telling a quick story of my first Ironman. So I signed up for my first Ironman and I was completely full of excitement, as many of us are when we sign up for our first Ironmans. And after about 2 weeks of really hard, consistent training and non ideal training, I might add, the excitement started to die down as my fatigue level and my overall strain level started to increase. Once you get to this point, that beginner excitement or that freshman mindset, as one of my coaching clients likes to say, and I do admire the freshman mindset, and I also enjoy, not sadistically, but I enjoy watching it slowly fade and then them having to find a much stronger foundation or mindset view frame to lean on, because that new frame that you find once you throw the freshman mindset out the way and consciously adopt a stronger mindset um, is much stronger, much longer lasting, and if you adopt the right one, it will enhance your training. So mine started to fade, and unfortunately, I just kept barreling through without adopting an ideal or this ideal mindset until pretty much, and I'm not even kidding when I say this, the last 4 or 6 hours of the actual race. And so now, if any of you know my story, you know that it took me a long time to train up from my injury to get to the point where I completed my first Ironman in 2022. So knowing that, how long it was, it's kind of ridiculous that it took me this long to adopt this mindset. What I was doing at the time was saying, uh, obviously, this is what hard looks like, the common expressions, like telling myself that if I thought this was hard, then I'm going to have to do this and more in an Ironman, or just constantly repeating to myself that I am an Ironman, I will finish this race, which, that was all nice. Um, but in, I'd say, mile 8 of the marathon of my first Ironman, I adopted the mentality because I was in so much pain because of my injured left knee and the injury that was starting to develop, or the pains that were developing in my right leg as a result of overcompensating for my left leg. I started to create a strategy that would get me to the finish line, and that did get me to the finish line, and that was just jog the light posts. And no matter what I was thinking, so I'd jog a light post, walk a light post, jog a light post, walk a light post. Not ideal, but it added a level of structure into my mind where I allowed myself to focus on only the task at hand, only the next step, and only that next light post, whatever you want to call it. Taking this mentality of narrowing your focus, forgetting the big picture as much as you can. Forget the rest of the 20 miles, 18 miles that I needed to run. All I focused on was jogging this much, walking this much, jogging this much, walking this much. And that repetition and that focus and that narrowing of focus allowed me to finish this race. Now, how does this apply, and what is the actual mindset that I'm talking about? The mindset I'm talking about, whether you want to say focus on the mile that you're in or focus on whatever interval you're in, is exactly what will change your training. And it sounds so simple and it sounds very stupid, but now look at this on a much more professional level of execution. And I'll call this my last Ironman, because this is exactly what I did during that last Ironman. I set the goal for myself to run the full marathon. And when I was trying to still use this mentality to get me through my last race, what I came to mentally was every single aid station I would view as an interval. And luckily, the Ironman at Lake Placid structures their aid stations pretty much a mile apart. So that means that all I had to do was run to the next aid station. At every single point in that race, all I had to do was get to the next aid station, get to the next aid station, get to the next aid station. And by shortening the race in your mind into bite-sized chunks, you allow yourself to digest it, so to speak, and not get overwhelmed at the task at hand. Because what's going to happen to you, and it happens to everybody, is you're going to be starting your marathon. You're going to say, okay, I have to hold this pace and I have to maintain this heart rate. And if I don't do that, then I'm going to blow up and I'm going to fail. And that's a dangerous mindset because anything can happen. The elevation can change. You can get a stomach ache and you can hurt your ankle. But if you just focus on each next step and say, okay, I have made it to the next aid station. Now I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm going to take my nutrition according to my nutrition plan. And then I'm going to get to the next aid station. Then I'm going to get to the next aid station. Then I'm going to get to the next aid station. You're not even counting the total number of aid stations that you got to. You're counting one. You're counting to one. I'm getting to the next one. I'm getting to the next one. Getting to the next one. And before you know it, you get into such a rhythm and you get into such a zone that you just, your mind is registering this loop that you're in, and you just keep passing aid stations. After some time, and an amount of time that you're not even registering, you have 2 miles to go, and you're approaching the finish line of your race, and you're doing it in a way where you're feeling better, you've gone faster, and you've kept your heart rate and your mind under control. You've kept your nutrition under control. You've controlled all the variables that you can because you viewed everything in such a small loop. Okay? So that's how this mindset impacts or will impact your Ironman. Now, how does it impact your training? Another short story, because yesterday I had an interval session and it was very tough. It was an 8-mile run with intervals of 3 1-mile intervals at my zone 5 pace. So that's very difficult. But as I was running my intervals, obviously when you start intervals, the first one is much less painful than the second one, which is much less painful than the third one. And when I say pain, I mean fatigue. We're not in pain. For each one of those intervals, all I was telling myself was run the lap that you're in. Not even the whole mile. Run the lap that you're in. Because Each interval on the track, you're doing 4 laps, that's 1 mile. If you just run the lap that you're in, you get into this repetitious zone that I was just talking about in my race. And you finish one, and then you finish the next one. You finish the next one, and then before you know it, you're done with that interval. Now you're like, okay, now I have this next interval coming up. You do the same thing, and your mind, regardless of how hard you're working, for some reason, will find this groove. It'll get into the groove of just looking at the next lap, just looking at the next lap. And before you know it, you're done with your intervals. Now it's time to finish the rest of your 8 miles and get home. Just that calming effect on the mind, on the body, of focusing in on what you can control, right now, how fast you're running on this lap, how fast you're running on this lap, now how fast you're running on this lap, to hit all your times as you're supposed to, not get too excited, not get into your mind and say, oh my God, I have another 2 intervals to go, while you're still running the interval that you're in. So you're running the interval that you're in, and you're not even thinking about it. Your mind is somewhere else. You start to slip on pace. You start to slip on heart rate. You start to slip on form. And before you know it, you're adding a negative effect to your training. You're adding inefficiency. You're wasting energy on something that you're not doing. And that wasted energy adds up over the course of training session to training session, lap to lap, day to day. And what people do when they don't have this mentality, okay, just get to the next training session. And you're starting to notice you can apply this to literally every aspect of your training. Get to the next lap, get to the next mile, get to the next day. Day after day after day, you're just chunking out your training, you're chunking out your approach, you're chunking out your races, and you're breaking everything into as small or as consumable of an integer, of an interval, of a bit that you can, just to allow yourself the ability to properly, mentally and physically digest the information, the senses, the fatigue, the strain, the workout, the recovery, everything. Thinking about it a little deeper, this is obviously it's all mental, but this is a huge practice in presence of mind, focus. Some would call it a form of meditation, bringing all the focus to the present moment, mindfulness, so that you reduce waste, you reduce stress, and you enhance performance. So that's the mindset shift. That is what I learned from one ad hoc season that I trained myself and had to learn these lessons the hard way. Implementing that into my second season and my second race for far superior results. And now implementing it into my training, because I have a race coming up in July, just under, I don't want to do math because I just got off the bike and dehydrated my brain completely. A few months. And I've been just refining this and just getting sharper at breaking down, focusing on the session that I'm in, the interval that I'm in, the day that I'm in, and just getting to that next day, just getting to that next step until I'm at race day. I'm at a higher level of fitness than I'd ever been at, and I achieve my goal, or I stack the odds in my favor to achieve my goal. So I hope you like this. If you did, please subscribe. If you didn't, you can also subscribe and watch more videos that you don't like. Or maybe I have other videos that you will like. And now I'm going to try to get more consistent about posting these videos because I like to share the process that I am in the hopes that it'll help you achieve your goals and your dreams of becoming an Ironman. If you want a condensed version of all the information or most of the information that I know that would get you from zero or beginner or early intermediate to Ironman, then I have a link in the description and you can check that out and buy my program / plan for like, I think it's like $30 right now. But until next time, thank you for watching and I'll catch you in the next video.